بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
You know, I have a personal theory about this, that there are articles about this on how Santa Claus has led to atheism. But I take it a little step further. This is my theory on Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and Tooth Fairy and all of these fictional characters that Western culture has. The thing is that when a child is young, their parents and adults that are around them in their life, they're their idols.
Right.
They're everything to them, and they trust them completely because as a child, you can't do things on your own.
Sure.
So when you're growing up being told that Santa Claus is real and that Santa Claus has a very similar contract as God, which is you can't see him, but he sees you.
Right.
If you're naughty, you get punished. And if you're good, you get blessings and gifts. And then fast forward to when you're older, all of a sudden people are telling you Santa Claus isn't real. Tooth Fairy isn't real. The Easter Bunny isn't real. This whole world that you have built as a child, I mean, it's a very traumatic moment because not only did your parents lie to you, which is not only, this is a huge case.
Right. It's a social construct that suddenly collapses upon itself. And you're like, what? The whole world as I understood it no longer exists. And that's pretty shocking.
It's very traumatic.
It's really shocking. Yeah.
My parents were lying to me, and the movies themselves were lying, and the media was lying, and all other adults were lying about this concept. And so the immediate reaction that I believe I would even have as a child when I really reflected on if I was told Santa Claus was fake after being told it was real is shame. Why? I'm ashamed that I believed this, or that I felt like a fool. How could I believe this and everyone else was fooling me the entire time? So what a lot of American kids no longer want to feel like is a fool. Yes. And no longer want to be tricked into some invisible being that is going to come save them or going to come or going to judge upon them. So I think they immediately tie it, the stupidity of Santa Claus and how stupid they felt, stupid quote unquote, because it's not their fault, to how stupid it is if, oh yeah, you want me to fall into another one, God?
Yeah, so that's really interesting the way you put it, is because, and you also started with calling it Western. I'd point out to you that, I mean, yes, we have these three, but the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and the Tooth Fairy, we have them in Western culture. Almost every culture in the world, we have mythical beings, right? The challenge we have here, particularly in the United States, because the understanding of Santa Claus is very different in the Netherlands than it is here. The understanding, I mean, the Eastern Bunny is not even a thing in most of Europe. And the Tooth Fairy is also not a thing. They're all commercialized, right? So the one challenge we have in the US is the hyper-commercialization of our mythic origins. The challenges that come from it is that when we grow up, we assume everything is about being conned. Everything is about being monetized. And that's why people have a hard time with religion, oftentimes, is because it's just another monetization of the mind for someone else to manipulate and use. And you can see that after this entire generation of material excess and commercialization, after what young people have gone through, who are now in their 30s and early 40s, you can see why they're irreverent towards a lot of socially established norms, because a lot of those norms have been manipulated and turned into money-making, profit-making machines for some tiny 1% of our population. So it's definitely something to consider about. I want to point this out to you. Can you argue with me that most people in the United States are Muslim in their heart, but the challenge is manifesting it through their mouth because of the trauma that many of them have seen with religion, period, let alone 9/11, let alone talking about any type of extremism, but just the trauma that they've undergone with religion in the public space. And, you know, the auntie thought about that and she said, you're right. You really are. Most people in this country really do manifest Islamic beliefs, manifest a belief in the one God, manifest the finality of there being a day of judgment, of angels and whatnot. But the challenge that they have of giving charity, of doing right for the sake of right. Forget reward. Do right because it is our duty to do right. The reason they don't say Shahada, the reason they don't believe in our religion publicly, is because, one, we live in a country where there is no compulsion in religion, thank God. You can be who you want to be, but two, because of what religion in the public space has become associated with. And there was a great study that came out last week, I believe it was by Pew Research, that pointed out that it's very possible that by 2050, America will not be a Christian majority country. And the reason, again, when you dive into the numbers, it comes down to how religion has been deliberately mismanaged, misused, and manipulated by populist forces so that they can achieve their own political ends.